Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montavilla Sewing Center, and today we're talking about the Baby Lock Triumph. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the wave stitch. Now, the wave stitch looks like this, where you've got it waves across there, and it's got a special setting. That's what this little switch up here is all about. So it tightens and loosens your upper looper. Now this beautiful edge I did using special thread that we sell here. This is a thicker thread, as you can see. Razzle is the solid color black thread, and then Dazzle is the kind of variegated, almost holographic looking red thread. You can also use regular thread, of course, and you can get the same settings and the same idea. You want to use contrast thread because it's going to show up better. I could also use Maxi Lock stretch for the loopers, and that's going to help fill in the little windows that you see on here. Okay, when you thread your machine for the wave stitch, you really need to use your quick reference threading guide because it has a special way to thread the machine. Okay, so we're going to go with a 3-thread wave stitch. Now, your thread guide is huge. So look at the page that has this wavy line here, and then you'll know you're on the correct page for the wave stitch. So to start out with, we want to use O2, which means overlock needle 2. I'm going to take the left-hand needle out, which is O1. And get that guy off to the side, and the accessory tray out of the way, safe and sound. And tighten that down a little bit. Okay. Then length, which is going to be your lower knob. I'm going to take off my catcher tray here. The lower knob length, they say to make that at 0.75 to 2.5, and it again depends on your thread. If you're using a thick decorative thread, you want a longer stitch length. If you're using fairly thin thread, maybe a shorter stitch length. But the stitch length is going to affect the waves, how close they are together. So we want to be in standard, which we already are. So 2.5, I'm going to make it like right here at 2, and I can always adjust it as we stitch out our sample. Width, you want to have that at 5, and using just the right-hand needle, the 5 is going to be that smaller number. So you see how it says 2.5 and 5? Well, we want that right there at the 5, which is the smaller of the two numbers. That's because you're using only the right-hand needle. Stitch selector is going to be on B right here, and you'll notice there is a word that says wave right there, so you'd use B or C for whichever wave stitch that you're using. And then this is the magic, where the magic happens. We're going to put that up to wave right there. The rest of the things are set up just like you would for regular 4-thread serging, so we don't need to make any changes that way. Now, the picture here is where it's important. If you look carefully on your quick reference threading guide, you'll see a couple little red marks. That's to alert you that this is going to be a different threading than what you would normally do for these particular thread paths. So I've got thread on here that approximately matches the thread that's in the quick reference thread guide. So to start out with, I'm going to start with the green thread, which is this one here, is called overlock needle 2. And we're going to put that in the thread path for overlock needle 1, according to the chart. So I'm going to go with... Starting out, we're going to start out on the thread tree for overlock needle 2, which is just fine. Then we're going to put it into the threading path, the tension, in overlock 1. Now notice I lifted up my presser foot because when you do that, it opens your tension discs. So I'm going to put this off to one side just for now. Also, I'm going to open the doors here so that we can get ready for threading. So the yellow one in back there, that's going to be our upper looper UL right here. But the tension area is going to be in overlock needle 1. Or no, overlock needle 2, that's right here. Anyway, this side, the second from the left. according to the chart. Now, your lower looper, which is this one, is going to follow the same lower looper thread path. So we're going to go up here. Now I'm doing all of like the thread tree and the tension disc, all that part all at once to kind of get those parts out of the way. That's usually how I thread my machine anyways, get those two things done. Then I go on to the rest. Okay, so we want to put it into threading like this. Turn your hand wheel until the tubes match up, and you can see you can't turn the hand wheel now. So I'm going to start with the yellow thread. The yellow thread is going to go into the upper looper. Take my yellow thread, poke that down in there, and see how I've got it at sort of a curve, and I tap it down in there and press that button. So that's what it's going to look like. Normally, this one comes from here, so that's why it's important to follow that thread guide there. Okay, now it hasn't gotten all the way through, but that's okay. I want to get both of them started before I get them all the way through the loopers. The way that this is threaded is going to affect how the wave forms. Okay, so now I'm going to pull these down, give it a little more slack, and give it a good push like that. Okay, so we've got the yellow thread, which is the upper looper coming out, and the black thread, you can't see it too well, but there, I pulled it out a little bit more. You can also use your tweezers to grab it through there. Now, we also need to thread the needle, so I'm going to leave it in threading until we've got this thread coming here. I'm just going to check the thread chart to make sure that's just what I want to do. Okay, that's going to be threaded into the needle. It's kind of different, so we want to make sure that everything's the way it should be. Now, for threading the needle using the air thread system, I like to cut my thread just a little bit past the front of the cabinet. That seems to be about right. Then, get my thumb up there, and I'm putting the thread right up to the needle hole. Then press it on, press it again to turn it off, and it's grabbed hold of the thread, so when I lift this up, it's threaded the needle. Kind of magic, isn't it? Beautiful. Okay, when you start serging, whenever you do, you don't need to worry about this lower looper thread. Just let that hang down there. Just make sure it's not too long, about 3 or 4 inches is about right. And then we want to get it out of threading. Now, if you notice, if you don't have it out of threading and you try to close this door, you can't do that. It kind of reminds you, out of threading. Now we can close the door. We're ready to go. Also, I like to give it a little bit of a thread tail before I get going. Just make sure everything's the way it is, and it usually is. A safety feature, in addition to if these doors open, you can't do any serging, but also if the presser foot is up. See, it's not going to go. So presser foot needs to be down, and then we can start. There we go. Okay, let's get our piece of fabric out here. I like to move this forward a little bit so I can get it right under there. I just lift this up a little bit usually rather than, lifting up my presser foot. And that way I can get it right up to where I want it to be, and I'm watching what I'm doing there. Hang on to that thread tail until you get a few stitches. Okay, now I can see that this stitch length is a little too long, so I'm going to make it down here to almost 1, about to 1 there. And that's looking better. One thing that I did notice is that it does seem to be a little on the, like maybe you want to have stabilizer or quilt batting and maybe another layer of cotton in there, because it tends to be scrunching up the edge of the fabric. It's not bad. So in that case, I'm going to try it on some denim here. We're going to take a look at what that looks like. Have the back of the denim so you can see it. All right, so you can see the difference between these two. Quilter's cotton. fairly nice edge, but if you look really carefully, you can see it kind of folded and gathered up the edge a little bit inside, but at a distance, you don't really notice that. And then on denim, this is what it looks like, exact same settings. So that's how you do the wave stitch, and that is this one right here, 3-thread wave stitch. You can also do a 3-thread rolled wave stitch, which is rolled hem settings and combined with the wave, and then you can do a 3-thread reverse wave. This one happens to be my favorite. I like this for an edge finish. It looks really nice on the edge of like a mug rug or a placemat. So, wave stitching. I hope you found this to be a helpful video. If you have, give us a thumbs up. If you have comments or questions, you can leave those in the area down below. We have lots of other videos on this machine and on other machines here on our Montavilla YouTube channel, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Bye.